It's time for Waking Up with Wesley. Today's forecast and weather-wide discussion with WLOX First Alert Weather Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams.
Waking Up with Wesley is sponsored by Exclusive Auto Brokers. For the best deals on wheels, visit Exclusive Auto Brokers on Beatline Road in Long Beach.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'm Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams. Thank you so much for waking up with Wesley. So yesterday, some places had quite the heavy downpour. Not everywhere, but it certainly was where a lot of folks live in Gulfport, Biloxi, D'Iberville, those areas in southern Harrison, southern Jackson counties saw quite the heavy Tuesday evening storm. We've got a time lapse of that storm that we're going to take a look at. Take a look at some of the rain numbers from yesterday. And if there was any damage reported, which, spoiler alert, there was. And then finally, we'll take a look at the forecast into the upcoming holiday weekend, which looks like might be with lower rain chance and hotter temperatures. So without further ado, let's take a look at this. So there's our time lapse from yesterday in the Biloxi area, showing quite a bit of heavy rain during the Tuesday evening drive. So that was probably one of the most horrendous drives many of you have ever made, and maybe in some cases in your life, if you were caught underneath that particular severe thunderstorm. And boy, was it severe, because there were reports of winds gusting upwards of 70 miles an hour. Let's see if I can pull up some of the peak wind gust speeds from yesterday. Does any number stick out to you? Yeah, it's 76 miles per hour for the wind gusts peak yesterday in Gulfport. I'll remind you that Category 1 hurricane wind speeds start at 74 miles per hour. So it's fair to say there were some hurricane force wind gusts yesterday that were observed in Gulfport. And it's no wonder that there probably were some reports of severe weather. We'll see if we can pull up the reports map, which will show all of the latest reports over the last 24 hours. And we'll fine-tune that right on into the Gulfport, Biloxi area. So there's plenty of reports of flooding, it seems, but also some reports of those strong winds. Let's see if we can get some details on some of that information. I'm sure some of this was covered if you tuned in to WLOX News Now last night, but we'll take a look at some of the information and see what we can find out. So here we are. Let's take a look at the wind report near Bay St. Louis. They gusted to 48 miles per hour at the Bay Waveland Yacht Club. And then if we get really tight zoomed into the Gulfport area, we can see a little bit more detail on some of the reported severe weather. So there was a look at that 76 mile per hour wind gust at the Gulfport Airport. Definitely damage causing. And it's no surprise that right next door to that, power lines were down on Washington Avenue near Bayou View. So that's a community in Gulfport. And you can also see there was another report of a tree down on West Pine Street. Our news crews also were looking at some of the damage that you might have seen shared in some of our newscasts, as well as on social media, flooding on Highway 90, as well as some downed trees and other forms of wind damage, all from one severe thunderstorm that popped up in that area. And you can see those reports of flooding there along Highway 90. And then we scoot on over closer to D'Iberville, and you can see a wind damage report there. A large tree branch was down on near Pops Ferry Road, not on, but near Pops Ferry Road. And there was also some flooding in that area as well. And in Jackson County, you can see that report of flooding not too far from Ocean Springs there to the north. So all in all, definitely was some pretty impactful weather in South Mississippi yesterday. We actually have the first alert radar, which can recap some of those showers and storms from yesterday. So as that information loads, we'll take a look at exactly where some of those rain showers and storms kind of came from and how all of that came together to produce that severe weather in the area yesterday. So, okay, finally the information is loaded. Let's see if we can restart it in the morning. I don't know, this graphic takes some time to load. I guess it's a lot of data to pull from the past. All right, I think it's fully there now. So Tuesday morning, and for much of Tuesday, we went without much rain. So you see all of that uninterrupted heating, that really supercharged the atmosphere with heat energy so that when thunderstorms came in the afternoon and in the evening, they were able to get very strong because there was so much heat energy for them to kind of feed off of. So when we got to the evening, those storms coming in from the north and east, they hit George County first, then they hit Jackson County there near Pascagoula Moss Point by 3 in the afternoon, hitting Wiggins by 3 in the afternoon, and then that whole line continued to move off toward the west, and it hit into Harrison County. Woo! Did you see that? That one just really did a number. Let's see if we can rewind that right there between 4, 5, and 6 p.m. Just severe, there was the severe thunderstorm warning. You can see the orange box there around 5 p.m. Then we have flash flood warnings, those red boxes there later on during the 5 o'clock hour. Fortunately, after that one plowed through the Gulfport Biloxi area, things tried to improve after that. So the trend for this week, if you remember tuning in on Monday, we talked about how this is a week that starts wet and finishes hot. And that certainly appears to be the wet start is evident with these 3 maps showing the rain that was seen on Sunday and Monday and Tuesday. Monday, I think, was the worst. We had the most widespread rain coverage and a lot of heavy stuff. Tuesday, it was really bad, but not everywhere. Tuesday, it was bad in Gulfport, Biloxi, and other portions of southern Harrison and southern Jackson counties. But there were some places yesterday that, you know, you sit here, you talk so much about rain and storms, you're talking, and people pick you and they're saying, what are you talking about? You know, this WLOX viewing area is not just Gulfport, Biloxi, it's our 6 southernmost counties, and there's other places where it really just did not rain at all. So not everyone shared in that horrendous thunderstorm from yesterday, even though a very high population area did get hit. There were plenty of other spots that saw absolutely nothing. Today, another day with a chance for scattered showers and thunderstorms. I don't think we're going to see as much rain coverage as we've seen the last couple of days. Monday's rain chance was 70 to 80%. Tuesday's rain chance was also about 70%. Today's rain chance will be lower than that, actually decreasing to only 40%. There's kind of a change that is underway as we are seeing the weather pattern begin to transition. What's happening here is we have this upper trough that is dropping across the eastern part of the country, and then there's an upper ridge trying to build in from the southern plains. And so that upper trough in the eastern part of the country, that's actually helping to pull down a cool front, believe it or not, in early July. Now, I'm pretty skeptical of cool fronts this time of year. I don't rely or depend on any type of change that they would possibly promise. So I don't really buy into them is what I'm saying. Maybe this one passes through. Maybe we get a slight drop in the humidity. That's what the information is suggesting. I think it will more importantly help to kind of shove most of the rain east of us, and that is what we can enjoy for the holiday, reduced rain pattern for the local area. Now, these numbers are the dew point numbers showing how muggy the air feels. Today, we see them in the upper 70s. Let's see if we can get them to drop from Wednesday to Thursday. In South Mississippi, they do apparently drop from the upper 70s to the lower 70s. That's still pretty muggy, but it is a decrease that maybe some of you might notice. Do they drop again from Thursday to Independence Day Friday? Not very much. They kind of stay the same. We can do a more zoomed in view with this zoomed in dew point forecast. Again, Wednesday, probably the muggiest day that we're going to see for the remainder of this week, with those dew points not that far from 80 degrees. But then we get to tomorrow, Thursday, and we see all of those numbers coming down. No more upper 70s. Instead, we're finding lower 70s, maybe even some upper 60s. So it could possibly turn noticeably less muggy. I'm not guaranteeing it. It's July. You shouldn't really buy into weather promises from cool fronts, but it is at least a possibility. You take a look at Independence Day Friday, we're also still seeing those numbers looking pretty promising, lower 70s, upper 60s. So in general, that is a thing that is a possibility for us as we go through the next few days, how it could go from feeling basically gross right now to maybe a little bit less than that as we got a Thursday and Friday. Some of that kind of sticks around in a Saturday, but eventually we do return heading into next week. Now, as far as the tropics are concerned, a lot of talk this week about the possibility of tropical development near or east of Florida. Don't expect that to do much of anything for today, Wednesday, or tomorrow, Thursday. But by the time we get to Friday or the weekend, the chance does increase to a medium chance for a depression or storm to form somewhere there. We're trying to see if the modeling is showing any kind of circulation, trying to become better defined somewhere in this zone. The good news is that because Mississippi will be on, if there's a tropical system or a tropical low forming here, somewhere near or east of Florida, where's Mississippi? Are we on the right side of that? Are we on the eastern, wetter side of that? Nope, Mississippi's not over there. Mississippi is on the western side, which is typically the drier side of a low pressure circulation, tropical circulation near Florida. So a lot of times when Florida's getting hit or South Carolina, North Carolina is getting hit with tropical systems, for Mississippi, that usually just means nice and dry weather. And that's just because of the wind circulation being counterclockwise around the low. And this is what the futurecast for the weekend shows. Saturday, again, maybe seeing some kind of tropical depression or storm somewhere near or east of Florida. Sunday, we can see this getting a little bit more consolidated, a little bit better organized there. Maybe Sunday is the day that the models are showing, bam, there you have it, a new depression or storm offshore of the East Coast. Is it going to come toward Mississippi? The answer is probably not. It is instead going to be steered up toward the north. You'll see it there, moving closer to the offshore of Virginia, and then by early next week, Tuesday, July 8th, still seeing it well offshore of the East Coast. And so not really expecting that to be any kind of direct threat to Mississippi or the northern Gulf. So like I said, with Mississippi being on the western and drier side, this helps our rain chances to decrease down to 20% for Independence Day Friday. You will also notice that Independence Day Friday carries the hottest temperature for some areas as we go into the next 4 days. We're seeing those numbers getting into the mid and upper 90s. Sizzling, if not sweltering heat is going to be on tap for the holiday. And because a holiday like that is a day when many of you will be outside grilling, swimming in the pool, spending time with family and friends, that means more people are going to be exposed to the elements, to those sizzling conditions for a longer period of time than they usually are. You know, people are usually sitting inside of an air-conditioned building at work, like I am here today. But if I were off spending time with family and friends on Friday, I'm not, I'll actually be at work. But if I were off, then that would be a time that maybe I'm outside more and I'm feeling that heat more. I'm saying all of that because I just want you to understand that even if we don't hit the criteria for a heat advisory on Friday, the National Weather Service will likely still just kick one out anyway. They'll just give a heat advisory just because there's more people outside exposed to the elements. Here's a look at the latest 7-day forecast from our First Alert weather team. You'll note that the lowest rain chances are Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, which is pretty much, you couldn't plan it much more perfectly than that. I guess you could. You could have like a 0% chance, because the fact that the chance is not 0 means that there might actually be a spotty shower or storm. And I gotta say, on days when it's the hot, like yesterday, when you have all that heat and you have all these rain-free hours, even if you get like one thunderstorm, that one thunderstorm might pack a punch. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. I'm hoping that we don't really see much rain at all on Friday. I know we will have many rain-free hours, but if there's just even one thunderstorm on Friday, it could be a big one. It could be a whopper because there's going to be so much heat, and a thunderstorm feeds off of that heat energy in many ways that helps it to become stronger. We don't have a risk of severe weather, at least the last time I checked, for Friday. But even just an isolated thunderstorm takes advantage of that heat. It could be pretty rambunctious, if you will. Well, that'll do it for our Wednesday edition of Waking Up with Wesley. I've been Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Hope that you have a great Wednesday, and we'll see you again next time. Take care.
Waking Up with Wesley has been sponsored by Exclusive Auto Brokers. For the best deals on wheels, visit Exclusive Auto Brokers on Beatline Road in Long Beach.